What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined today by special guest and good friend Jacob Punto over at si.com/NFL/Steelers. Find us at youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Make sure to check us out anywhere you get your podcast. I appreciate you guys hammering those audio downloads and giving us a 5-star review because we bumped up from 4.3 to 4.4, and that was a good day. Yeah.
Ooh, all right.
All of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. Jake, how you feeling, my friend? Excited to have you on. This is the first time you've been on with me. You've been on with Nick, but this is the first time you're on with me.
Yeah, it's a privilege. Thanks so much for having me on here, man. Happy to be chatting with all of Steelers Nation, talking about some fun times in Steelers world. But yeah, man, I'm all good. I'm just hoping that this crazy storm going on just passes right on by. And doesn't sweep me up in it like I am the Mrs. Gulch and the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, no, I feel that. It is wild. Me and Jake live a couple blocks away from each other, and we both jumped on and said, wow, dude, wind outside is terrifying today, huh? Yeah, it's not good, but that's all right. We'll distract ourselves by talking Pittsburgh Steelers football, and there's plenty of news today to actually dive into, so I'm excited to dive into it. As always, toss your questions and your comments in the chat. We'll get to those at the end of the show. Shout out to our super chatters. Shout out to all of our members. And if you want to become a member, you could do so by hitting the link in the description below. Jake, we're going to start with the news and notes of today, which was more pre-draft visits. The Pittsburgh Steelers are very close to closing off their top 30 visits. I believe they have one left at this point. Do not know who it's going to be. I would imagine it's Kenneth Grant over Walter Nolan. I do not think he's going to show up just from what I have been told. But today's news was two running backs, RJ Harvey out of UCF and Trey Henderson out of Ohio State. Another two big names to add to a list of running backs that is growing, and to be even more honest, has some sort of clear resemblance to each other. And that is speedy, explosive dudes who are going to go anywhere from the first round to maybe the fourth round, who have that upside to be a starter pretty quickly in the NFL. Trey Henderson, just to take everybody back real fast, is a name that the Steelers have been interested in since the NFL Combine. I mean, that was the name I was told multiple times in Indianapolis. Look for Trey Henderson, look for Trey Henderson, look for Trey Henderson. Steelers like him. I followed that, and so have the Pittsburgh Steelers. They met with him at the Combine. They showed up to his pro day, obviously, and then they took him out to dinner and have now brought him in for a pre-draft visit. I'll start with the big question, then we'll dive into running backs as a whole. Has Trey Henderson, a guy who might go in the first round, added himself to the list of possibilities for the Steelers at pick 21?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any way around that. I mean, just based off of how much they seem to be courting him so far and how much interest they have in him going on a couple of months now. I mean, I would say that he is, he's on their radar. It's surprising to me because I didn't know that running back would be such a high priority in the first round. But I mean, just looking at this list of players that they have brought in on those top 30 visits, I mean, it's overwhelmingly running backs, and it's all along that same type of player like you just described. So yeah, I think he's just about in the mix as anyone else who's been talked about at that 21st overall pick.
Yeah, me too. I look at a running back and say probably not their first priority, but I don't think it's super low on their list. Things would have to happen, and the Steelers have other interests. I think defensive tackle is still very high. My pick for the Steelers remains Kenneth Grant out of Michigan, but Kenneth Grant's not there. Walter Nolan's not there. Derek Harmon's not there. Shedeur Sanders goes, 3 to the Giants, who worked him out today. All these guys are off the board. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers would consider a running back. Do you think a running back, where I'll ask it more of a general question. Where is running back on the list for first round picks? You got quarterbacks, defensive tackles, wide receivers. Where does a running back fall in your eyes for the Steelers?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the one making the selections, running back is probably 4th or 5th on my list.
Yeah.
I think D tackle is probably my number one need. I think quarterback is right there. And then I think something like cornerback or safety is probably my third need that I would be trying to address in the first round. So for me, it's, then I'm getting into like those skill player positions between running back and wide receiver for those highest priorities. But yeah, it wouldn't be my top one. So again, I am very surprised by sort of how the Steelers are proceeding, and it makes me wonder, like, do the Steelers foresee the draft kind of spilling out this way, where like defensive tackles are going to go, quarterbacks are going to go, all these other positions that maybe they do have a higher priority on are not going to be available, so they're doing more investigation, doing their due diligence a little bit further on running backs, because maybe that's the only position that they think is gettable at 21.
I agree. I think at some point it's like Nicky Muwari. It's like Malachi Starks, or, you know, really anybody that they're looking at that is a little bit outside the box. You're looking at it going, okay, the Pittsburgh Steelers have the 21st pick in a draft class that is the least defined draft class we have seen in years. It's just like Cam Ward's going to go number 1. Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are great players. Ashton Genty and Tyler Warren are great players, but they don't play premium positions. Everybody else is like, yeah, I guess good guy, you know, quality player. Where he would fall in a normal draft, nobody has any idea. I think the Steelers are looking at it going, 21 could come up and we have no idea who's going to be on the board, and we have to have all of our T's crossed so that we can look at it and say, all right, Trey Henderson is a dude that we should add to our football team. You brought up corner. That's an interesting one. Why corner in your eyes for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I'm not a fan of this like 1-year veteran stopgap sort of approach. I understand when you're a team that believes itself to be a championship contender, you know, you think it's just sort of a plug and play in certain positions. And I get that mentality. And I love Joey Porter Jr. I guess I'm not sold on, you know, that veteran partner. Even in Darius Slay and all of his achievements, I would much rather put a long-term investment into another corner. I mean, like, my dream pick would be getting someone like Will Howard out of Michigan, but I just don't think that there's really a way that he will fall to 21 unless, you know, we'll see. But I think getting a player like that sort of rounds out your defense in a much short-term and longer-term window than sort of just addressing it for 1 year and then knowing you're going to have to come back to it in the 26th draft or beyond. That's why it climbs up for me.
I agree. I think Will Johnson he didn't even work out at Michigan's pro day. And I got a phone call after Michigan's pro day saying, Kenneth Grant's the dude, but I'm going to tell you right now, if there's any dream out there for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it is Will Johnson falling to 21. He did nothing. He just showed up in shorts and a t-shirt and said, go ahead, guys, you guys have a great job. Do good stuff out there on the field. And the Steelers are that in love with them. I agree with you. I also agree with the stopgap Band-Aid stuff. I'm not into it. I think the Steelers need a long-term plan. I think they like Corey Trice, but what they like and what we have seen so far are two different things. You know, you got to have reliability. The best ability is availability, and Corey Trice doesn't have that right now. He needs more of it. I agree with that. I like that idea. I like adding corner to a list that I think people are moving or removing corner from heading into the draft. We'll talk quarterbacks here because that is the other part of today. Is Aaron Rodgers, week 6, still nothing. You have not been on the show, so I'll ask you before we dive into Mike Tomlin's love affair with this rookie quarterback class. Aaron Rodgers, you think he's coming to Pittsburgh? And I asked Nick Fair about this last week. If you do, when's your prediction that he does sign?
Okay. Do I think he's coming here? Yes. I still think this is the best fit for him if he wants to actually play another year in the NFL. And this seems to be the only organization that has gone out of its way to present an opportunity to him to play. So I do think he is going to come here, but I think if he does, it's going to happen after the draft. I don't necessarily agree with, was it Schefter who said something about him wanting to be here for the start of like some sort of like team activities, but I don't necessarily think that is Aaron Rodgers' priority in deciding where he signs. I think he has his own timeline, as we've already continued to see. But yeah, I do think he's probably going to end up signing here. Do I want him to sign here? No, I don't see the point for the same reason. I don't really get the idea of stopgapping at cornerback. I think, you know, it's just not really the best investment because you're just, you know, putting a little bit of patch over a hole that you're going to have to tear down the whole thing and rebuild anyways eventually. So I don't like the stopgap fixes. But yeah, I think we're going to see Rodgers in a Steelers uniform despite all of that.
When is your prediction on when he signs? Before, after the draft, week 1 of the NFL season? Just for reference here, Brett Favre signed with the Minnesota Vikings in August. So we could have a minute here before he signs.
Yeah, I don't think he signs immediately. I definitely think it's after the draft, and I would say it would probably be about, a day before either the first preseason game or the first game of the season. I think if he's taking his time, this much time already, he is in no rush. Don't expect an answer anytime soon.
That would be nuts. I have said it multiple times that riding the Rodgers wave is something we would never experience as Pittsburgh Steelers media, fans, etc. We are in the midst of it. It's wild. You got to embrace it and just say you only live once, and we get to live Aaron Rodgers rides one time. But I will say at the same time, we have hit a point where I think everybody can't stand him, and it's becoming a little bit of an issue. You are a Steelers fan. You're probably the most removed from the media side that we've had on this show in a while. Steelers fandom. Do you want him here?
It's a great question. For the sliver of Steelers fandom that I might represent, I think the answer is no. But
yeah,
I think there is just this complete unknown in actually assessing whether Aaron Rodgers is the best available quarterback option for the Steelers, or the other option would be taking one of these rookies in the draft and kind of rolling the dice. And I as someone in the fandom, I have no clue. Watching him last year was unimpressed. The Jets were unimpressive.
Yeah,
he was not anything better than Russell Wilson was in my mind. But
yeah,
with this team, maybe that makes all the difference. And it's so hard to know.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's talk quarterback and who Mike Tomlin loves outside of Aaron Rodgers, because they're waiting for Aaron Rodgers. That's not changing. Every time, every phone call I get, every conversation I have includes Aaron Rodgers talk, obviously, because you have to ask. There are never any updates except for, they remain in contact. And then maybe I think they're getting a little fed up, but they're going to wait it out because of who Aaron Rodgers is and the opportunity that he presents to the Pittsburgh Steelers. In the meantime, they're looking at the quarterback class and this NFL draft class and pick 21. And Todd McShay said this one on his podcast the other day, quote, "I tend to trust where I'm getting this information. Mike Tomlin really likes Shedeur Sanders. If he's there at 21, Shedeur could very well be a Pittsburgh Steeler." This comes after bringing him in for a pre-draft visit. Plenty of conversation about if Shedeur is on their radar at all. I had this dropped on me by a source that to be honest, my eyes lit up a little bit. I was like, whoa, never even thought about that one. Shedeur Sanders, for a guy who everybody is nervous about the outside noise. The Steelers nervous about the outside noise. That's a real concern. Have also acknowledged the other side of things. He was very professional in the meeting. He understands the attention that he's going to get and somewhat has learned over the years how to navigate it in a constructive way, because it's going to come. You play quarterback and you're Deion Sanders' kid. People are going to talk about you, and most times it's not going to be good. But he understands where that comes from, what's real, what's not, what's important to go back on, and honestly, what's important to just say, yeah, you could say whatever you want. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Then there's this one, which again, I popped a little bit. For a kid who everybody is worried about the attention and him wanting the attention and the cameras and lights and everything that comes with him, he's not going to the NFL draft because he'd rather be home where there are no lights and cameras and all of that stuff, to be with a small, I'm sure it's going to be massive, but his intimate group of people. And I looked at that and said, you know what? You're not wrong. You are definitely not wrong. Mike Tomlin loves him. The Steelers are surely fascinated with Shedeur Sanders. 2 questions here. Do you think there's any shot he falls to 21? Do you think there's a growing chance the Pittsburgh Steelers would be open to going and get this kid before the 21st pick if they feel they could?
Ooh, some spicy ones. Yeah, I have a really hard time, especially with the news of Derek Carr's injury. Seeing him get past number 9 in the Saints, I just feel like that's a really, really good fit. It's hard to see that not happening. At the same time, we're just talking about this is going all kinds of ways. It could be, I could see him falling to 21 if the Saints do something crazy. But I mean, I feel like they want a quarterback to lock it down. For your second question, would they trade up? I mean, they've done it in the past, so I guess possibly, yeah. But no, I don't think for Shedeur they would do that.
Okay.
I think that they have shown a ton of interest, and he fits a lot of those check boxes of like a Tomlin guy with like the NFL lineage. He's experienced. He's all these things, all of those updates that you were just mentioning there. Like that's huge. They want someone to come in and be like the leader in the locker room and command everybody, and not just be like the most popular player on the team. So it sounds like they have confidence and growing confidence that Shedeur is not just a one of the most talented players in the draft, but maybe the most complete leader about to enter the NFL, and that could be a credit to his NFL lineage, to his dad's coaching. Who knows? Could just be an innate sort of like killer mindset. But yeah, I don't think they would trade up for him, because I just think that there are too many other needs that they would rather address at 21, and that they could still get at number 21. And since they don't have a second round pick in this year's draft, correct?
Correct.
So you're giving up a lot there to not have something else to back it up there in the next round. So I would be surprised if they do. But I don't know. Do you disagree with that, Noah? I feel like you might be.
I think there's a growing chance. I don't think the Steelers all around want Shedeur Sanders. I think there are many people in that building who sit here and say, be patient, be patient. You got to wait for the best opportunity. Let's not jump the gun. Let's not make a Kenny Pickett mistake once again. And Shedeur Sanders this is the time of the year. This is it. We've gone full circle, because that's what the NFL draft is the NFL draft when it comes to quarterbacks is we're going to throw everything we can out, and it's going to go on such a roller coaster ride, and then it's going to come back. And we went through the Shedeur is going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. Shedeur is going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. Then it was Shedeur's not going in the first round. Shedeur might not even go in the first round of the draft. Teams don't have him as a first round pick. Then it went to, Shedeur's going to go number 2 to Cleveland. And if he's not, he's going to go number 3 to New York. And if he doesn't, he's going to go number 6 to Vegas. And then it went to, maybe he's 21. Maybe he gets to 21. Maybe he gets past 21, and a team's going to trade back into the first round. And in the midst of this, other guys, Jalen Milroe's a first-round pick. Jackson Dart's a first-round pick. Tyler Shuck's a first-round pick. At the end of the day, none of those guys are first-round picks if Shedeur Sanders is still on the board at 21. Now we're back to maybe the Steelers are going to trade up to go get Shedeur, because they got to get to 8, because there's no chance he's going to make it past 9. The roller coaster has come all the way around. I think that causes a lot of confusion to what is going on. And I mean, without hearing it from the Pittsburgh Steelers themselves, we have no idea. I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't say it's likely, but I'm not going to say I wouldn't rule it out in the fact of, if I was going to guess, I'd say no, but it wouldn't shock me. If it happened on draft day, would not shock me at all. I could look at it and say, well, saw that one coming a little bit, because they love Shedeur. Go ahead. You got thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I just keep thinking about Devin Bush right now. And just like he was the guy. He was the guy. And the need for a middle linebacker was so great. I understand that. And whenever the Steelers really think they got their guy, tunnel vision. There is no convincing them otherwise. So if the Shedeur train has left the station, then you're bang on. They're going to trade up for him. They'll take him at 2 if they could. Whatever assets they could use to get him, they would. I have a really hard time in this moment trusting that they know who the guy is, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't think they do. Do. But my thought on that and why I wouldn't be surprised is because in this draft, we just mentioned like 11 dudes who can go at 21. And the fact that the draft is not solidified at all. Like we have no idea what's going on. And we don't even know if these guys are going to be great. Like there's certain defensive tackle is going to be great. You're going to get a good defensive tackle almost no matter who you draft. Running backs the same way. Both of those positions you could get in the 3rd round and the 4th round. And if the Steelers are looking at it going, 21 is going to give us a 2nd round guy either way, well, might as well just go get Shedeur and solidify that pick and make sure that it's at least our guy. That's what I'm saying. I'm not predicting it. I don't think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if Shedeur ends up in Pittsburgh. I'll ask you this, and this one's a little bit on the spot. I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this. Who's your guess? Who's your guy at 21 for the Pittsburgh Steelers if the draft happened today?
Like who do I think they actually are going to pick, or who do I think they desperately want to? I think
you give me both if you want.
I think they're going to pick a defensive tackle because it is just going to be the most talented player probably available. So I could see them taking. Oh man, put me on the spot. Oh, I can't even say one for sure, but they're going to go probably D tackle at 21. I feel that pretty strongly. And I think if they had their druthers and they could just take anyone that was available, I think it might be Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. Because I think he's just like freak athleticism like that. You can teach the rest. And I think,
true.
There's interesting times are brewing at that position and along the defensive line. So if he's your guy, I would take it. But yeah, beyond that, I think unless they can get Kenneth Grant, like you mentioned, I think he would be like the fit because he can plug and play. It's hard to look at those other guys that they brought in on those visits and pick just one that might be the guy. But I think D-line's where they want to improve the most.
Shamar Stewart would be, it reminds me a lot of Bud Dupree, to be honest with you. A guy that freakishly athletic, needs some work, but Bud by the end of it, you didn't have to pay TJ. You would have been fine keeping Bud. It would have worked out totally fine. I mean, it wouldn't have worked out. I think if he doesn't tear his ACL, he's in Pittsburgh. But I agree. I like that one. All right.
Fair comparison.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right. We're gonna stop talking quarterbacks. We're gonna stop talking NFL draft, and we're gonna play a little game here on Tuesday. A little game that comes back that I'm very excited to be on this side of things for, because to be honest with you, I've never been on this side of this game, but I'm pumped to get it going. You guys know what day it is. It's Tuesday. And what comes with Tuesday? Overreaction Tuesday. Let's get into it.
It's a fine line between, drinking wine and squashing grapes, as we say in this business. And sometimes it's very subtle.
Shout out to all you guys. Shout out to Jake for being here. I'm pumped to get into this. If you guys have them, obviously toss them in the chat. I'll try to catch as many of them in the comments as I'm rolling through these. But Jake, for you, somebody who's new to this, I'm going to break it down. It's quite simple. Game is as self-explanatory as it comes. I'm going to give you an overreaction or something that maybe I think is an overreaction. You're going to let me know if it is an overreaction, or maybe I'm a little spot on with where we're going here. We're going to start with a big one here. Okay.
Let's do it.
A lot of talk about Shedeur Sanders. A lot of talk about Jackson Dart. Steelers have brought spoken with Jalen Milroe, Tyler Shuck, Jackson Dart. They went on the quarterback trail of Notre Dame, Texas. Quinn Ewers, big sleeper for the Pittsburgh Steelers, apparently. Will Howard said yesterday to ESPN, I'm the best quarterback in the draft. I'm the best guy there is. You should take me. The Pittsburgh Steelers will start a rookie quarterback in week 1 of the 2025 season. Is that an overreaction?
Ooh. No, it is not, sir. It is not an overreaction at all. Is it the likeliest thing? I don't know. I don't think, as we kind of talked about already, but not an overreaction. Very much in play.
Okay. I love that. I think Shedeur, if you had to make one pick, who's your rookie quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Ooh. It's Shedeur.
All righty. I like it. I like Shedeur. I think Shedeur, I'm going to toss a sneaky one at you. Okay.
Please.
Quinn Ewers has been my name of the week. He will be my name of the week. Teams like him, man. I don't know if I do. Teams do. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Seems like a good interviewer. Like he gets in the room and just like breaks it down real well, X's and O's, but like, I don't care.
No, I agree. Eli Manning was compared to Eli Manning so that's what sources told me throughout the NFL Combine. Guy reminded me of Eli. I was like, what did Eli impress I have no idea. I was 9 when Eli came into the league. I have no idea what was going on at that point. All right, got another one for you. Steelers. And we're talking first round. We'll stay in the theme of the NFL draft before we go anywhere else here. And I got some big ones, TJ Watt included. The Steelers, we're talking quarterbacks, running backs, but everybody keeps going back. You just did it. You just went back to the defensive side of the ball and said defensive line seems like the one easy answer, the one that we have stuck with the entire time. But we're just ignoring the tea leaves. We're all sitting around going, that's another hint. That's another hint. Nah, defensive line all day long. The Pittsburgh Steelers, with the 21st pick in the first round of the NFL draft, will not draft a defensive player. Overreaction or not?
It pains me to say that is not an overreaction either. I want it to be an overreaction, but there is just no way of wrangling the Steelers management's mindset right now. It's all over the place. Yes. I feel maybe even more confused than when I was before we began this conversation. I don't think it's an overreaction at all, especially if it's Shedeur time. I think defensive side of the ball is the most likely still. I will maintain that, but no, it's not crazy to say.
We're 2 for 2 right now. I'm loving it. I agree with you. Overreaction. You never know. You never know. There's mellow reactions as we go into number 3. And I got a big one here for you at number 3. It's been the talk of the town since last Friday. It's all anybody cares about since last Friday. Is TJ Watt and the Pittsburgh Steelers doomed? Are things bad? I was told yesterday, I don't know if you probably didn't, on the podcast, I talked about how things are a little bit not great between TJ and the Pittsburgh Steelers, according to sources, because, well, the Steelers handed $150 million to DK Metcalf and are now trying to lowball TJ Watt. Not the greatest strategy for a team that preaches hometown, these are our guys, we're going to take care of Steelers culture. Well, they're eventually gonna. I'm not talking trade at TJ Watt. No, TJ Watt's not getting traded. What I am talking is, well, he finally gets one on the upper hand or the leg up on Myles Garrett here. TJ Watt signs a $41 million per year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers, surpassing Myles Garrett as the highest non-paid quarterback in the NFL.
Hey, that is not an overreaction. That is a prediction, Noah Stradamus. That's going to happen. They are going to pay him some amount of money. Don't know if it's $41 million per year, but they are going to pay him an amount of money that is more than what Myles Garrett signed for. I wholeheartedly believe that. So no, I think that is just a prediction.
Okay. I love it. I think that I hope they will, to be honest with you. I don't know why, but the whole like Myles Garrett love affair in the NFL it gets under my seat. It's a pet peeve of mine. It's a pet peeve of mine. I've made it very known. I'm not going to ever hide it. It's a pet peeve. All right. I got 2 more for you here. We're 3 for 3. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they want a quarterback. They need a quarterback, but they also have so many other options. What if Ashton Genty somehow falls past Dallas, which would be crazy, but you never know what's going to happen in the NFL draft, which means you never know if the Pittsburgh Steelers are thinking, let's go get somebody. Let's go get our guy. Pittsburgh Steelers will be the first team in the NFL draft, not just a team, the first team in the NFL draft to make a first round trade once the draft kicks off. Overreaction or not?
Oh, I think this might be the first overreaction of the day. I don't think they are the most desperate team at the draft. Okay. I think that between that combine it with this sort of like historical pattern of kind of like letting the draft come to you, right? Like Devin Bush's side, like, you know, Broderick Jones, Troy Fautanu the past couple of years were just the guys that kind of fell to them and they were the most talented. So I don't think that they are going to deviate from that approach unless it is the Devin Bush, the guy sort of thing, like we keep mentioning here. So yeah, I think unfortunately we're gonna go 3 for 4 on the overreactions because I don't buy that one.
That's all right. That's all right. I love that. And we're gonna finish it off with a banger before we dive into those in the chats because they got some good ones too.
Let's go.
This is draft related, but not draft related at the same time because the Pittsburgh Steelers, they like Shedeur Sanders. They may be like Jalen Milroe. They may be like Jackson Dart. They may be like Mason Rudolph. But at the end of the day, we know that if Aaron Rodgers calls, they're going to answer the phone. Well, Aaron Rodgers is going to call. He's going to call on the first night of the NFL draft and say, Green Bay hosting the draft, taking the spotlight? No chance, pal. This is my one get back on the team that let me go. Aaron Rodgers will sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers on night 1 of the NFL draft, stealing the spotlight from Green Bay and everybody watching.
I love that. I love that. It's a huge overreaction for sure. It's not going to happen because you know why? And I think it's because Aaron Rodgers would want all of the focus on his decision to be on him. And I don't think he could command too much of the stage with the NFL draft. As petty of a move as that is, and as dramatically satisfying as that would be, I think that might be just a bit of an overreaction.
All right. I love it. I'm looking, nothing gets ever ruled out and should ever get ruled out with Aaron Rodgers. If we're learning anything, I've said it a billion times. I thought I tried so hard. I looked at it and said, look, I've met a billion people that everybody told me I should hate that I do not mind. I've met a billion people that people told me I love. I hate them. I'm trying to hold off on Aaron Rodgers. This guy's making it real difficult. Real difficult. That's all right. We'll keep it trucking here. We got other ones. Don't even worry about it. Miguel here. Overreaction. TJ gets moved this summer, pulls a Najee, and gives up all the crap going on behind the curtain. Because of this, Steelers finish 4-13 after giving Aaron Rodgers $40 million in 2025.
Ooh, wouldn't that be awesome? Just for the dramatic craziness of it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an overreaction. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think TJ really has any desire to like speak on what's all the crap going on behind the curtain, to use your words there, Miguel. I don't think he really wants to. I feel like he just like doesn't even have like the vocabulary or the constitution to get into that sort of stuff. So like, yeah, I don't think he's good that will happen. I think it's possible he doesn't re-sign here. But yeah, I would be shocked if he left and then bashed the Steelers afterwards. But I didn't see what Najee did as being like bashing of the Steelers. I think he just was frustrated with how his tenure ended up. But I don't know. What do you think about that, Noah?
With the Najee thing, with the TJ thing, I think there's no chance. Look, at TJ's petty, but his deuces on Instagram is a very much so. We have been negotiating for a long time. This wasn't day one of negotiations. This was deep into negotiations and him going, all right, I got to do something here. Okay. Something's got to be done. I got to make myself known so that they could kind of take me seriously on my end of things so we could get this train rolling in the right direction. I don't think he'd ever do that. The Najee thing, I don't know. I tried real hard to say it wasn't bashing of the Steelers until Pat Freiermuth said on Christian Kutz's podcast the other day that he had to call Najee and tell him, knock it off, pal. And when that happened, I said, all right, I'm not the only one sitting around thinking maybe, just maybe, it was a little bit of a shot in the dark there by Najee Harris. But
yeah, clearly they didn't agree with my take on that, which is totally fine.
All right, we got one here from Nate Moore. Overreaction Tuesday. Due to Mike Tomlin's comments, the Steelers will trade up before the Saints to draft Shedeur. You move him up to 8. You think that's an overreaction or not?
I mean, yeah, I think it's an overreaction. I don't think they're going to do it, but yeah, I mean, if you got to get them, you got to get in front of the Saints. But yeah, overreaction in my opinion still.
What is the if they were going to move for a quarterback, what is what is the realistic place for you to say this one I could actually see the Steelers doing?
Oh, I mean, I think the only quarterback that would be actually worth trading up for and getting earlier is Cam Ward. But like, I don't, so I wouldn't have like a spot that like, if you got Shedeur at 10, I don't feel better about that. Or at 9, I don't feel better about getting him at 9 than I do at getting him at like 18 or something like that. If he falls to 21, great. But other than that, I just don't think he is worth the choice in all the assets you'd have to give up to move up in the draft to get him.
All right. We got 3 more here.
Let's go.
Coming from the fans. Jay Chrome here. Overreaction. Mason Rudolph has a crazy year like Sam Darnold and the Steelers and leads the Steelers to the playoffs. You riding with Mason?
No. No, not at all.
Man, you just killed the hearts of so many. Let me tell you.
So sorry.
Many Steelers fans.
I love that comparison to Sam Darnold, truly, because there's always some veteran quarterback who finally puts it all together. He's put in his time. It all clicks for him. Like, that'd be great. Prove me wrong, and then go out and get a big deal if you're Mason Rudolph. But no, I think he is who he is at this point. I think he's just kind of like a backup quarterback who can maybe win a couple of games. And that's what he would do as the starter of the Steelers. So yeah, big overreaction there for me.
Not even with go T Mason, man. Maybe he'll change it. Maybe he doesn't. Who knows? We'll see. Pittsburgh Hornets here. Overreaction. Archie Manning will do worse than John Mater, and the Steelers might land John next year. Do you think Archie Manning is going to struggle in 2025, removing himself from the Pittsburgh Steelers lineup?
I think it's possible. I mean, the pressure is mounting, and I do not know if he can actually take it or respond in kind.
Okay.
That's not me doubting him as a player and NFL prospect. That's me, I guess, being agnostic about what his ceiling is at the next level. Others who are more knowledgeable probably have a different answer and maybe a better one. But
I don't think there is an answer, to be honest with you. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm with you on that one. There's nobody who knows. Maybe he stinks. We've seen like 30 snaps of the guy. Who knows?
I have this like crystal clear memory, and it's probably actually incorrect, but I remember like the day after a draft years ago, there was like next year's projected draft, and it was like all of these quarterbacks, and one of them was like Jake Locker when he was in Washington, and it was like he's like the guy for next year, and he did end up going in the first round, but like he
lasted 4 years in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, so like the pressure a year out and having that much of a projection, the confidence in that is minimal. So it could be a John Mater. It could be Arch Manning. That's not an overreaction, just for an answer to that question.
All right. And we'll finish it off with this one. Pittsburgh Hornets, once again, overreaction. The Steelers sign Aaron Rodgers before TJ Watt.
Not an overreaction at all.
Ooh, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
I'd be shocked if a Watt extension gets announced before Rodgers signs with the team if he's going to do that.
I agree.
They don't seem close, Watt and the Steelers, so I don't see how that would happen first.
I agree. I don't look at TJ Watt right now as it's April. There's no need to be close. That's how the Steelers are looking at this. They don't got to be close till August. And it's not like TJ needs training camp. It'll be fine. They're not worried about it at all. So I agree with you.
They re-signed Cam in, what was it, August or September? August.
Yeah. That's their prime time. You get to Latrobe, TJ's not, TJ, they don't want TJ. They want him at OTAs, but like they don't want him to do much. Training camp rolls around. There's conversation to be had. All right. That's it for Overreaction Tuesday, Jake. Thank you. You guys, thank you very much. With that said, we're going to wrap up the show the same way we do every single day, and that's diving into all your questions. But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back momentarily.
Pittsburgh, this one's for you. From the voices behind all Steelers talk comes Black and Gold apparel, your go-to for bold, fan-driven merch that reps the city, the Steelers, and everything in between. Whether you bleed black and gold or just love that Pittsburgh grit, we've got something for you. It's more than a podcast. It's a community. And thanks to your support, we're proud to bring the passion from our mics to your closets. Gear up, stand out, and show the world what real fans look like. Shop now at blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com.
All righty. Shout out to all our super chatters. Shout out to all of our members. If you got questions, toss them in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can before we head out of here. With that said, We're going to kick it off here with Nate Moore, member for 1 month. Shout out to all of our members. Shout out to you, Nate. Appreciate you as always. Can the Steelers get by in the run game with Jaylen Warren as their biggest back? Jake, I'll let you kick this thing off. Do you think Jaylen Warren is a 3-down back? You think he's big enough to be a 3-down back?
No, I don't have the most confidence in him being your 3-down back for the entire season. I really just would love to have a complimentary guy in there to take the pressure off of him. But I don't think he's a bad running back by any means. Yeah. I just don't think he's like the guy.
Yeah, I hear you. I look at Jaylen Warren as a dude where you need a power back. You need somebody who's going to be able to take it on third, because he's going to be able to do that a lot of times, but you don't want him to do that every single time. I think Jaylen Warren as your starter and your 3-down back with a quality backup is totally fine. Damian Martinez out of Miami is a great example for that. But I also think that if you could get a Trey Henderson, if you could get a Caleb Johnson, if you could get a Quinshon Judkins and just say 1A, 1B, beautiful. That's what you're looking for in the NFL. That's what you're looking for in Pittsburgh. Bell cow running backs are awesome. And I think Jaylen Warren should be the guy that gets 55% of the snaps over a 3rd-round pick. But I think 55% of the snaps keeps you healthy, and that's what the Steelers should be looking for.
I like that. I like that for sure.
All right, keep it trucking here. Cody Silva, Derek Harmon, first pick. You heard it here first. That was Nick Fairbaugh's go-to for the Steelers at number 1. I like Derek Harmon. I'm a big Derek Harmon guy, to be honest with you. He's number 2 on my list of defensive tackles in this draft outside of Mason Graham out of Michigan. Kenneth Grant is number 1, but I think Derek Harmon's growing, to be honest with you, in my level of confidence for who the Steelers will draft. I still think Kenneth Grant is a guy they are in love with, but I would not rule out Derek Harmon. You like Derek Harmon?
I think Derek Harmon is definitely an option for them in the 1st round. I think it's all in this like big old cauldron of D tackles that all I struggle to see who is like the actual 1A out of all of these like very worthy number 1 D tackles. So, I mean, yeah, I think Cody's got a great opinion there. I think Derek Harmon certainly could be a Steelers 1st-round pick. But I think Kenneth Grant's still the guy. I agree with Noah. I'm not just trying to ride his coattails.
I appreciate it. Hey, look, somebody needs to come on here and ride my. It's been a minute since Nick's been on here, and he always told me I was wrong anyway. So, you know, shout out Potato Salad member for 2 months today. Can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys. Whatever happens next year, we will get the best kicker in the league. We're off to see the Wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Boz. For those of you who do not know, we dropped Chris Boswell shirt. Potato Salad, I think you might have been the one that told us to go do it. If I'm wrong there, I apologize to those who did. But we dropped a Boswell shirt on blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com. Go check that out. Appreciate it. Appreciate you, Potato Salad. Phantom TV here. Trade TJ and 21 for Josh Allen. We need an NFL version of the Luka trade. TJ and 20. I mean, 2 questions here. TJ and 21, does it get you Josh Allen? Does it get you anywhere close to Josh Allen? And would you trade for Josh Allen if that's all you had to give up?
TJ and 21 would get you Josh Allen from Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I don't think that does much for Buffalo. Wouldn't that be incredible? They need a franchise quarterback 100%. If you could make the NFL version of the Luka trade, you have to do it for a quarterback because that's your quickest gateway to another Super Bowl. But I don't think, an aging edge rusher who is elite, top of the NFL at his position, but still is aging, is in need of a huge contract extension, plus the 21st overall pick is going to make any team interested in trading their own MVP quarterback. But yeah. I love the thought behind it. I just think it would have to be like TJ and 21 plus like 17 more 1st-round picks to make Buffalo interested, just because like the value on a franchise quarterback is just absurd.
I agree. I don't think TJ is getting you a quarterback like Brock Purdy, who's floated out there yesterday. I think that Brock Purdy makes a lot of sense for both sides because you could get Brock Purdy and you'd probably get extra. Like you could probably get Brock Purdy and a 1st or a 2nd-round pick for TJ Watt and a 1st or a 2nd-round pick. Like I think that could actually happen. Josh Allen, I mean, that's the MVP of the league. That's he's untouchable right now. And that's just not going to be, would the Steelers call? Maybe. Would it happen? I don't think so, but it would be awesome.
Be sick.
Stephen Cornfield, record will be the same regardless of quarterback. No to Aaron Rodgers. Do you agree with that? You think Mason Rudolph, a rookie, Aaron Rodgers, season turns out the same for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
No, I don't. I think they'd be similar, but I don't think they would be the same. I think they would be similar in the sense that I think Tomlin could help this team be, a winning team at 9-8 or whatever, with either of those three options that you just listed. But I don't think that would be the same. I think Mason would probably get you less wins. I don't know if he'd get to the 10-win mark, but I think maybe Rodgers could, and maybe the right first round pick could get you to like 10-7. So yeah, I don't think they'd be the same, but they'd be close.
They'd be very close. I think the only difference is Aaron Rodgers at the end of the day, if it works out, gives you a shot to go into a puncher's chance with Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or I don't think he's gonna. There's a 50% chance that he stinks. But if Aaron Rodgers clicks and things work out and he's still got a little bit of that, you got to remember Aaron Rodgers is the greatest passing quarterback of all time. Okay. And if he's got a little bit of magic left in him, it gives you a fighting chance. I don't think that's going to happen, but I agree with you. I think they're 10-7. I think there's a possibility like at least Mason Rudolph will throw it exactly where Arthur Smith tells him to throw it every single time and get you to 9-8. I don't think that's guaranteed with Aaron Rodgers. All right, potato salad here. Trading TJ without him requesting would be shameful, in my opinion. NFL is business, but businesses are based on relationships. Won't look good on the Steelers rep. I agree. I don't think the Steelers would even think about trading TJ Watt unless he asked for a trade and said, I want out of here. And even at that point, I don't think that they would highly consider it. Unless somebody came with a wild offer. Do you agree, disagree?
Yeah, I don't think the Steelers are in that sort of business. I don't think that's the way they go about their business, maybe is a better way of saying that. But I don't necessarily agree with Potato Salad's point about like the business based on relationships. I think the relationships get overlooked a lot for the money that's guaranteed.
Yeah.
The Falcons are still going to make big moves, and they did probably the most egregious contract work with Kirk Cousins, ever. And I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be that mad. He might say frick a lot because he's frustrated with the situation, but like he got all that guaranteed money. So like, how much can he bash the Falcons? Yeah, I don't think that would be the big issue, but yeah, I don't think the Steelers are going to trade TJ without him requesting it or there being some sort of huge behind the scenes sort of blow up about this contract negotiation.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's got to go. It's got to be off the deep end. Things are getting crazy for them to even consider, hey, all right, yeah, we're moving on from TJ. It's time to go. And again, I don't think a peace out Instagram post is anywhere near crazy enough for them to even consider it at this point. Yeah. Carl Spackler, hear me out. TJ Pickens and the 21st pick in the draft for Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson, and Darnell Mooney. I will be very straight up with you, Carl and Jake. This is an awful trade. So I would not in a million years. Bijan would be awesome. Kirk, we have no idea. Darnell Mooney, fine, but a massive downgrade from George Pickens. I think you're giving up way too much on the Steelers side of things to make this worth it, especially in a draft class where you need a running back. I hear what you're saying, Carl. And if it happens, I get you. But as the Steelers side of this, I'll play GM. I wouldn't even think about this trade if this was the only offer that I got presented.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love the aggressiveness, Carl. I love the aggression on this pursuit. Yeah, Bijan's the only one who does anything for me. I think he fits that mold of like the ideal sort of complementary back, if you still have Jalen Warren around as well. But Kirk Cousins does nothing for me, and same with Darnell Mooney. All respect to the players involved, but no, that's a ton to give up.
Would you go TJ for Kirk and Bijan straight up? I think that's an actual possibility.
Sure, but no, I wouldn't do that.
No. Kirk's a question mark. I get it. Kirk's a question mark. I think I'd consider that. Once you toss George Pickens as the 21st pick in there, I just think you're giving up too much for not getting enough back in that situation. Nate Moore, one more time. What's up, AST Nation? Favorite part of the day. Can't thank you guys enough, as always, for jumping on. And we're still working through them. Maddie here. What would you think about trading back later into the first round to get a second-round pick? Would you use your first and second? Or what would you use your first and second to get? I think it's a possibility that the Steelers trade back. The only problem is who would trade back with them. There usually needs to be a player that teams are hunting for. That player is typically a quarterback. The Steelers are the last team that are going to need a quarterback. So I could see teams trading back with the Broncos, but not the Pittsburgh Steelers. That being said, in a hypothetical world, would you consider that if you were the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think if the trade-off is that you move, back to pick 30 or something, but then you also get somewhere in the 50 to 60 range as well. I mean, I think you'd be able to get one of these running backs in round 2, most definitely. And then you'd be able to get one of these other players to address a hole at, 25 to 30 in the first round. So, I mean, yeah, hypothetically, I think that is a great idea. But yeah, there's no one that comes to mind, other franchises that would be the ideal trade partner to make that happen with. But I love the idea.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're going to need somebody, but if it's possible, I think it works out really, really nice for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Good question from Cody here. So the Steelers have Darius Slay, Corey Trice, and Joey Porter. So would you draft a first-round quarterback or cornerback, even though they may not be a contributor in year 1?
So I think if you're asking about what I said earlier about like Will Howard or something like that, it's because he would be a contributor immediately. He's better than Corey Trice, and he's probably just as good as Darius Slay might be right now. So I think if you can get a guy like that in the first round, yes, I'm not saying you just take a cornerback in the first round just to add to the depth chart. But if you can get a guy who will be that starter opposite Joey Porter Jr., yeah, I think you solve a lot of problems and make your defense way tougher to play against if you can get another corner to match up with Joey Porter on the other side.
I agree. And I think Corey could play on the inside. And I think that's important to note as well is Corey Trice can play on the inside. And I think that works out well for the Pittsburgh Steelers if they added another guy. I anticipate they do add another guy in the next, maybe this draft, maybe next year in free agency, but they will add that long-term piece at one point. Oof here. What's up, Noah and Jacob? Checking in from Guam. Just wanted to say, love the work you guys do. Keep it up and go Steelers. Appreciate you as always. That is awesome. Marlon Lewis here. No, if the Steelers don't like Beanie or believe in Beanie, why would they sign a quarterback who Beanie picked off? Not once, but twice. I do think the Steelers have some faith in Beanie Bishop, but they are not totally sold on him. It's kind of hard to get a read on him, to be honest with you, because getting benched at the end of last season sent a clear sign that he's not totally their guy, but only signing Brandon Echols kind of shows that they have some faith that he could take that step forward. I look at Beanie as a guy that right now they're a little bit into and want to see take a step forward in year 2. What's your thoughts on Beanie Bishop?
Yeah, I don't think they're like in love with him at all. I think he was the best pick last year because the options were kind of slim. But I think he played well for part of the season. But that benching, I think once you get benched like that, especially in a specialty role, like playing inside or like playing in the slot corner position or something like that, I think once you lose that trust, like Beanie did, it's really, really hard to win it back from Tomlin. So I think he'll be around. He's going to compete, but I don't think that he's like the guy that they want to be in that position long term. But yeah, I think he's got a chance to prove it wrong. I would just be surprised if he is actually the guy utilized the most once the season rolls around.
I agree. Carl Spackler with a great reminder here that I think we do need to note. Took his Tommy Maddox to get Ben Roethlisberger. Maybe the Steelers need Mason Rudolph to get Archie Manning. Would you be okay with a bad year for the future?
Yeah, 100%.
You would.
I come at this from a Pittsburgh Penguins mindset, where in that like you have to get bad before you get good. The Penguins were so bad in the early 2000s. They were just like an awful team to watch in every regard before they started drafting Crosby, Malkin, and Fleury. The Steelers had a really tough time with Tommy Maddox in that year before, as Carl reminds us. So yeah, I think there is a tried and true lesson in you have to get worse before you can get better. So if patience with Mason leads to, Arch Manning being the number one quarterback for a decade, and that means Super Bowls in the future, beautiful. Let's get that plan rolling. But then that requires some patience during the bad. So that's the trade-off.
Yeah, I agree. To be honest, though, I like Mason getting a shot. I'd be all about it. Rec 7 here. You guys discuss Jalen Ramsey, and is he an option? I don't believe Jalen Ramsey is an option for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Too expensive. And the Steelers, they got a lot to do right now. They got to go sign TJ Watt. They just signed Max Sharping to a 1-year deal. Shout out the guy who, to this day, I don't think I've ever even said hello to in the locker room. Rude on my part, but be what it be. They got to figure out Aaron Rodgers. At some point, they're going to have to spend $15 million roughly on draft picks unless they go higher and do crazier things. I don't see Jalen Ramsey as an option for the Steelers. Do you feel differently?
No, I agree with you. I think if Slay wasn't already in the picture, then, sure, because they obviously like to have a veteran around. But no, I think he's way too expensive. And I don't think he really wants to be like, I think he wants to be the number one corner on the depth chart still. I don't think he's really willing to be like the complementary piece like Darius Slay is coming into, or how like maybe Patrick Peterson was a couple years ago, for example. So yeah, I don't think he's like a realistic option, just because the Steelers have that veteran piece in Darius Slay already.
Yeah, I don't. If he was younger, cheaper, great. But I do not think where we stand today, that's where it's going to happen. Adam Vinnick here. No Grant at 21 now since no top 30 visit. I would not rule out Kenneth Grant not coming to Pittsburgh. They're at 29 visits. Kenneth Grant and Walter Nolan were at some point both expected to come to Pittsburgh. I would guess one of them is still going to come to Pittsburgh. Maybe it's Kenneth Grant. I believe they're at 29. I could be wrong here. I still don't think it rules him out. I think Kenneth Grant's a name to watch. So is Walter Nolan, but you do have a point here. If neither of them do show up to Pittsburgh, the last 2 drafts, you have checked off NFL Combine, pre-draft visit, Steelers draft pick in the first round. And if not, I'm not saying it's a definite, but it is. You do have to read the tea leaves. Feel any differently?
No, unfortunately, I do think that's pretty bang on. I think they love Kenneth Grant. It's hard not to, just watching any bit of his highlights from the past year. But yeah, I think it would definitely be a breach of sort of the draft protocol they've established the last few years. But yeah, I think he's probably going to be the last visit if there is still a spot. But I also would think that they would be willing to go off of, the pre-draft visit requirement to select him at number 21 still. So even if he doesn't come in for a visit, I don't give up hope in him being the first round pick. I don't think it rules him out entirely.
Yeah, I agree. I look at Kenneth Grant right now and say keep him on the boards. Although important note to have for sure. All right, couple more here. Stephen Cornfield, what would you say to trading this year's first for a second this year, a first and second next year? We can get who we want in the second this year, further load the ammo clip for next year. So again, trading this year for a second this year and a first and a second next year, I don't think you're going to get that, to be honest. I don't think you're going to get anywhere close to that. I think it comes down to who's going to trade up, and that's the biggest roadblock here. Is we could sit all day and say the Steelers want to trade back. The Steelers want to trade back. The Dolphins want to trade Jalen Ramsey. Doesn't mean anybody's going to call, and that's at the end of the day what this is going to happen. Is it comes down to the other teams. I don't think it comes down to Pittsburgh. I think you already touched it. Go ahead.
Yeah, 100%. I wish it was different than that, but it's not.
Grayson the Ginger. Hey, Noah, who would you rather have as a backup quarterback? Mason Rudolph, Ryan Tannehill, or Malik Willis, who the Steelers had interested? Go ahead. I'll I'll let you go first on this one.
I think Mason makes me feel the most comfortable because he's the most familiar. Tannehill's done some good things. Familiar with Arthur Smith as well, so that's a huge plus. I mean, Malik Willis is just, I guess would be an entertaining pick, a la someone like a Justin Fields, where you can see the tools and the athleticism that's there, but you're wondering if there's anything that can get him to the next step. So I don't know if I want that. If I would want that dynamic once again in the quarterback room in Pittsburgh. So I think I'd probably go with Rudolph or Tannehill, and Rudolph just because he's a little bit younger and probably a little bit more durable.
Yeah, I agree. Malik Willis would be number 2 on my list, but I look at this and say Mason Rudolph checks every box, and you just got to roll with quality back. He's a professional. He's a vet. He helps a rookie. I think that's all you're looking for in the Steelers. Overreaction Tuesday, TJ Watt gets extended, and Alex Highsmith gets traded on draft night. Go ahead. You've been rocking these. I'll give you one last one before we head out of here.
Overreaction. Why would you trade Alex Highsmith right after extending TJ Watt? Why not give the boys one last year to try and just rain terror and then trade Alex Highsmith whenever the money would kick in? By that, I mean TJ Watt's higher salary.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree.
Overreaction, but man, I love just like these aggressive takes. They're wild.
I also think overreaction. I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and say right now there's just no need to trade Alex Highsmith. And a year from now, there's a conversation to be had. Right now, I'd say probably not, because you might as well just let your defense rock. And Alex Highsmith's a stud. Let's not overlook that. And we'll finish it off with this one. Does Calvin Austin have any trade value? He's going into the final year of his rookie contract. Seems like if we draft a wide receiver, he'd be the odd man out between our DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Roman Wilson, and the draft pick. I have some pretty strong thoughts on this, so I'm going to let you go first.
Cool. I don't think he has much trade value. I think he's probably going to be the odd man out. But I don't know what I would give up if I was an opposing team. I really I think I'm probably biased because I remember watching him in training camp last year and being like, oh, he's impressive if he could stay healthy and with all these other options going on that weren't available. But now I don't think he really rode the wave like he could have last year. That could have cemented him further into maybe wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 territory. So I think unless some team wants to give up a 7th round draft pick for him, I think he would be a cut candidate that signs on with another team in training camp.
Oh, okay. So I'm 100% on the other side of that. I will say,
I love it.
I think Calvin Austin is a fantastic wide receiver 3 in Pittsburgh. And I think they view him that way. I think he's got a ton of upside, and he's played with really bad quarterbacks, who do not use what he does, and that's the middle of the field. It's the same thing with Pat Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth signed that extension and then played with Russell Wilson, who can't see over his offensive line in the middle of the field. So it didn't work out very well. And I think Calvin's the same way. Calvin is a dude who, if you give him the right quarterback, he's open constantly. I remember sitting in the press box last year 4 or 5 times going, Calvin's open. Calvin's okay. Threw it incomplete. That's cool. Don't even worry about it. Calvin was open on that one though. I think right now Roman's the odd man out where we sit here. I think Roman's got some making up to do, some catching up to do. Yeah. Calvin, on the other hand, is to me a dude who the Steelers love and they want him to work. It depends on who the quarterback is. I think Mason Rudolph gives him some upside. I think Aaron Rodgers gives him a lot of upside. I think a rookie might give him more upside. I don't know. And I don't know if it's ever going to turn into anything, but I do think the Steelers like him. I don't think they'd consider trading him. I also think that there's a chance that if George Pickens does get traded, he's their wide receiver 2 in 2025, which would be nuts and not great. But I think there's a possibility that that's how that goes down this offseason. All right. Yeah. That's everything on our agenda today. With that said, guys, we are heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. And you can find mine and Jake's work, nsi.com/NFL/Steelers. Jake, I'm going to give you the floor. Let the people know where they can find you, where they can read you, the whole 9.
You can check out my work where you can find Noah's work on the Steelers. I pitch in there sometimes. I do a lot of hockey work for us as well, for Breakaway on SI. So check us out over there. And we got NHL coverage with the NHL playoffs coming up. Even though the Penguins won't be participating, you'll get some great coverage from us over there for the teams that are still in the mix. But besides that, just pumped for the Steelers season, and no Aaron Rodgers, please.
Appreciate you as always. Shout out to our super chatter. Shout out to our members. If you want to become a member, you could do so by clicking the link in the description below. With that said, I will be back tomorrow. Make sure to call into the AST call-in show. That'll go out at noon Eastern Wednesday morning, and then obviously the flagship show tomorrow afternoon. Enjoy a windy but a beautiful one in the Berg. See you tomorrow. Peace.